Skoda has a reputation for delivering great value, good quality family cars, and the plug-in hybrid Skoda Superb IV looks set to maintain that reputation. A starting price of some £32,000 for the saloon and an electric range of between 32 and 37 miles for the range as a whole makes this one of the cheapest large plug-in hybrids you can buy. That might not sound terribly cheap in the context of things, especially compared to non-electrified alternatives in this class, but it is usefully cheaper than the equivalent Passat GTE, which of course gets the same 13 kWh battery and 1.4 litre turbocharged petrol engine. That is not the only competition that the Superb faces either, because there are established rivals like the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, if you don't mind an SUV body, and there are new alternatives coming like the Peugeot 508 hybrid. So the Superb does have quite a lot to prove then, despite that good value. So is it just about the budget, or is it really one of the best large plug-in hybrids? The Superb gets a 13 kWh battery that will take around 4 hours to charge up at a home wallbox or Type 2 public charger, and 6 hours if you plug it into a normal 3-pin domestic socket. The Skoda's maximum charging rate is capped at 3.6 kilowatts, so 4 hours is the fastest charge time you will ever get, regardless of how powerful the charger might be that you plug into. As with most plug-in hybrids, there is no rapid charging socket. It's only compatible with Type 2 AC chargers, but the good news is that these are now very common in the UK. Even so, most owners will choose to do routine charging at home or the office. A discrete panel on the grille hides the charging socket, and Skoda provides both a Type 2 and a 3-pin domestic cable that you can store underneath the boot floor. Skoda has also launched an app to go with the IV, which allows remote control of the charging, cabin temperature and more. On top of that, there is an 8-year, 100,000 mile battery warranty that also promises to refurbish or replace the battery should it drop below 70% of the as-new performance within that time. I am going to start by talking about the electric running, because to make the most of plug-in hybrid life, you need to be charging this car regularly and running on electric power as much as possible. And the Superb seems to be doing really well, so it's about 10-11 degrees outside, and it's returning some 30 miles of pure electric driving, which is really good. Notably, it's also better than the Passat GTE that we tested a few months back, but it was much colder when we had the Passat in, and don't forget that cold weather can really eat away at an electric car's range. So even though this is on 18-inch wheels just like the Passat was, it is doing quite a lot better, I think, because slightly different driving conditions and it's much warmer. So it really does bode well for the fact that you might even get close to that 35-mile claimed range in summer, and if you spend a lot of time around town, when electric cars are always a bit more efficient. Notably, you've got all of the drive modes that you want, so you can stick it in pure electric mode down here, and the Superb is really lovely to drive in that mode as well. So it's very, very quiet, of course, very linear, progressive acceleration, more than fast enough. Don't ever worry about plug-in hybrids like this being slow in pure EV mode. It will hold electric mode and it will do motorway speeds in electric mode, and it's just really nice to drive. It feels more than punchy enough. In fact, this car feels punchy enough generally anyway, because if you stick it in hybrid mode and make use of the petrol and electric running, it's got 215 brake horsepower and 400 newton meters of torque. So it does actually shift if you wanted to. It will do 0 to 62 in 7.8 seconds. So it is a fast car, but it is also a car that never feels like you particularly want to thrash it. It's very much a car that you sit back and enjoy. And I quite like it for that. It's a Superb. Expecting it to handle like a sports car is, like expecting your sofa to double up as a filing cabinet. It's just not really much point, is there? It's a relaxing, comfortable car. Interestingly, the Superb gets adaptive dampers as standard, which is quite an expensive option on the Passat GTE. So I'm not quite sure why that is, but it's certainly to the Skoda's benefit, because it handles nicely, there's not too much body lean. It does feel like quite a big, heavy car, but it's got that nice, precise, tidy handling that you expect of Skoda and Volkswagen, and it's just really nice to drive. A lot of drivers will, of course, just stick the car in standard hybrid mode and let the car do its own thing, and it works really well like that too, because this powertrain's very refined even with the petrol engine running. So when they flick between petrol and electric mode, and when both powertrains are working together, it's just very smooth. You can kind of just ignore what's going on. As an aside, if you do want to make the most of the standard hybrid mode where it's shuffling between the power itself, it's worth putting a route into the nav, because this car has got the intelligence system where it can see what your route's going to be like, and it will save the electric running for when it's going to be most efficient. It's just so good at what it needs to do. The Superb plug-in is only available in higher trim levels, so this is the SEL version of the Superb Estate, and I think it is the sweet spot because you get heated leather seats, you get LED matrix headlights, you get front and rear parking sensors, keyless entry and go, and you get this very nice colour touchscreen, which is a focal point of the car, and I think it's really good. It's one of the best systems in the class, actually. The nav will show you where the nearest charger is, of course, and there are multiple USB inputs to connect or charge your phone, and naturally you get digital radio, Bluetooth and voice control as well. It does have really good safety equipment, so you get adaptive cruise control, you get lane keep assist, you get blind spot as well. What is weird is that you have to pay extra for traffic sign recognition, which is a feature that a lot of cars get as standard, and that beams the relevant speed limit onto your dash, so I'd say that's worth adding because it's quite a good feature to have. The only other weird omission is that you don't get a reversing camera, which is another feature that I think is useful on this car, given that it's a very long car. Even so, visibility is good, and also the driving position is very good in the Superb. You get electric seat adjustment as standard, really nice range of movement, and yes, it's a very straightforward cabin, but I quite like that. It's logical, everything's where you expect it to be, it's comfortable. The only other option you might want to add is the virtual cockpit that this car has got, and which allows you can configure the dash as you want, and it's very crisp and clear digital screen. So that's another good feature. It's about 500 quid though, so it's not terribly cheap. Otherwise, the Superb is just a really comfortable, really classy looking place to spend time. That goes for those in the back as well as those in the front, as there is limo-like room for those in the back seats, and access via the wide rear door is very good. A 510-litre boot is a bit smaller than you'll enjoy on the non-electrified Superb Estate, but this is still a vast load bay that'll rival the Outlander PHEV for usefulness. There is not a lot to criticise about the Skoda Superb IV. Certainly there are some rivals that have got longer warranties than the 3 years 60,000 mile job you get with the Skoda, and at launch at least I would say that the finance deals seem a little bit peaky by Skoda standards, so you're going to be paying about £400 for the car that you see here, even with a decent deposit. So I suspect that when new rivals like the Peugeot 508 turn up, and when the newness rubs off the Superb, then I suspect you'll see finance deals improve. It is great value by any standard, and it is not just recommendable for being great value, it is recommendable for being a great plug-in hybrid. It is spectacularly practical, it is lovely to drive, and it is really efficient. And that is why it is our favourite big plug-in hybrid. Head to DrivingElectric.com for all of the electric and hybrid car advice, news and reviews you could possibly want. And check us out on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. While you're here, don't forget to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel.